The Eastern Caribbean Collective Organization for Music Rights, ECHO Incorporated, is refuting a terse statement made by the Skn Music Festival chairman Damian Hobson regarding licensing fees. ECHO is an organization for music creators and publishers that was set up to ensure that registered artists were appropriately compensated for the use of their music and work. At a music festival press conference held 23 June 2022 at the Skn Marriott Resort, a reporter questioned the chairman about the ECHO licensing matter. His response provided no details on the issue.
No, every year we pay ECHO the license fee, so that's not an issue.
On the same day, ECHO responded to the chairman's statement by issuing a press release to the regional news media indicating that the Skn Music Festival had not completed payments for 2019 and had not concluded a licensing agreement for the 2022 music festival. In part, the release states, quote, "We wish to state that the Skn Music Festival has not yet settled its balance for 2019 and has yet to conclude the licensing agreement for this year's event that starts today, 23 June 2022. At the point of this statement, ECHO representatives have not been granted access to monitor the 2022 performances. The failure to pay the 2019 Skn Music Festival licensing fees has meant that rights holders of the musical works performed at the music festival have not received their royalties for that event. Royalty distribution is based on the receipt of licensing fees," end quote. At the 24th June Music Festival press conference, the chairman departed before the questioning period. Skn Newsline attempted to contact him after the press conference, but was unsuccessful at the point of our deadline. Skn Newsline will attempt to obtain clarification on this matter as soon as possible from the music festival chairman. Glenn Bart reporting for Skn Newsline.
Former Chief Medical Officer Dr. Patrick Martin has joined the calls for the COVID-19 restrictions to enter St. Kitts and Nevis to be removed, as there is no scientific basis to keep those measures in place.
Prime Minister and persons high in the hierarchy of NEOC continue to say we have the best COVID response in the world. So if we have the best COVID response in the world, why are we late? We have a favorable level of immunity contributed by infection and vaccination. Let's follow the science. It is my view that the continuation of the border restrictions is not governed by science, but being governed by a narrow calculation.
Dr. Martin is arguing that with several countries in the region and around the world removing such restrictions, St. Kitts and Nevis, given the current state of COVID-19 in the Federation, should follow suit.
Measures are required to be useful, necessary, and proportionate. That's what happens in a nation of laws. Things must be governed. There must be good reason, good evidence. There is no good evidence to keep the borders restrictions in place. There is no good evidence to isolate an infected, vaccinated person who has no symptoms for 14 days. I heard of a case of that. And there is no reason to send an entire class home because one child got infected. I heard of a recent case of that. Back in zero COVID days when we didn't understand how the virus behaves and we had low levels of immunity, fine, but not now. Now we are living with COVID.
The most recent call to have the restrictions removed came from leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, Dr. Terence Drew, who argued that keeping the measures is a way for the government to impede St. Kitts Nevis nationals abroad to come home to vote. Currently, persons wishing to visit St. Kitts and Nevis must be vaccinated against COVID-19. Residents and citizens who are unvaccinated must be quarantined for at least 7 days before being allowed to integrate with the public. All travelers to the country must complete a travel form online and get approval from immigration before being allowed to board their flights. Travelers must also submit a rapid antigen negative test result from an approved lab taken 1 day prior to arrival, or a COVID-19 RT-PCR negative test within 3 days of arrival. Andre Huey, Skn Newsline. When visiting St. Martin, you want clean, affordable accommodations. You need Midtown Motel in the heart of Phillipsburg, a place where you can relax, take a stroll on Great Bay Beach, and that provides you easy access to great shopping. Midtown Motel, located on Front Street, Phillipsburg, St. Martin. Call Midtown Motel at 721-542-0614 and book your stay today.
The Skn Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips. Nestled between evergreen mountains and the Caribbean Sea on the island of St. Kitts is the Mill House Guest House and Convention Center. With breathtaking views, a rugged, beautiful shoreline, and immaculate manicured gardens make this the perfect location for your holiday, event, or wedding. With a large convention center, apartments with balconies providing stunning views, and a secluded cottage for larger family groups or honeymooning couples looking for some privacy. We have something for everyone. Book your stay at www.millhouseskn.com or visit our Facebook page, the Mill House Guest House and Convention Center, an oasis of tranquility.
While official data is yet to be confirmed, it is believed that almost 5,000 patrons turned up to experience the first night of the return of the St. Kitts Music Festival. Music Festival Chairman Damian Hobson commended persons for what he described as, quote, a job well done. The Music Festival lineup will further entertain what is expected to be another large audience coming to see and experience the performance on Friday, 24th June, when taken to the stage will be Ashanti, Sean Paul, Chanel Murr, Imac, Deja, Highlight, and Maxi Priest. One performer, Anthony B., will not appear at tonight's festival due to a pressing personal matter, according to Chairman Hobson. At the 24th June press conference, the artists promised outstanding performances for their fans and for patrons.
And looking forward to blazing the crowd with some hits and some new material as well. You know what I mean? Yeah, the festival vibe now, bro. I think everybody just enjoyed themselves too much last night.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Imac from St. Kitts, you know what I mean? Way countryside. Just come to bless everybody with my talent tonight, you know what I mean? Top dog of the place, full effect. Yeah.
I'm a Jamaican dancehall reggae artist and here for the St. Kitts Music Festival. I'm very excited to be a part of this talented, amazing experience.
We argue, so you figure tell me embarrass you, baby. Then you try tell me crazy, yeah.
So me say, baby, me say, don't you worry your brain. Don't you stress, just listen, I'm saying. Serious, but serious, so looking at my face. I'm trying to take you back to my place.
How we no take shot from no girl neither. I never get a box from no boy. How we bad for real, so no watch the media. Coming hype and bossy. I know for them.
So just independent to mother powder. Clean skin shiny.
Heart is beating for you. I can't stop crying. I don't know how I allow you to treat me this way and still I stay. Yeah.
Organizers of the St. Kitts Music Festival Committee are asking patrons to turn up early to the venue to experience the full presentation of performers. Glenn Bout reporting for Skn Newsline.
After a 2-year hiatus, the St. Kitts Music Festival opened Thursday night and delivered the high-energy entertainment patrons were promised. Fans got their money's worth with performances from some of the top soca artists from home and abroad. Some of the artists spoke to Skn Newsline after their performances to talk about the experience of performing on the St. Kitts Music Festival stage for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic began.
The experience has been amazing, you know what I mean, to share this stage with all these great artists.
Nice.
Big up Nadia Batson and the SAS band. We didn't even rehearse and we went and, you know, did the performance in a great way.
Nice.
You know, and the fans receive it in a great way. They give us the energy, we give them back the energy. We share the energy on stage and the energy was high. The vibes is great, the atmosphere, the aroma, it smells beautiful in the air, you know what I mean. So we're just happy to be here and hopefully we come back again, you know.
All right, so hi Nadia, I remember you vividly in 2019, ready to rock the stage, and now you're back after 2 years of lockdown. So tell us, what was the experience like?
You know, absolutely amazing. I've been saying it since the moment I landed here, that St. Kitts is just becoming one of my favorite places to perform, just because of the warmth of the people. It reminds me so much of home, Trinidad and Tobago, because, you know, we're just warm, loving people.
The music festival continues tonight with performances from R&B legend Ashanti, rapper Wale, dancehall superstar Sean Paul, reggae icon Maxi Priest, Chanel Muir, and St. Kitts Nevis superstars Imark, Highlight, and De Jour. I'm Andre Huey for Skn Newsline. If you're looking for a place to host that special event, conference, meeting, social event, party, whatever the occasion, your best option is the Millhouse Convention Center in Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Located on the picturesque Garvey's Estate, the Millhouse Guest House Convention Center has enough space for outdoor events overlooking the Caribbean Sea. If you're looking indoors, the center is equipped with amenities needed to make your event a success. And by combining both spaces, you're sure to have a memorable event, no matter the occasion. Call the offices at Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center to book your next event on simply the most beautiful place in St. Kitts. Call 668-1392. Millhouse Convention Center at Garvey's Estate, Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Making your event memorable. It's the new and improved Skn Newsline Android mobile app. With the Skn Newsline app, you can watch your news reports, the Skn Newsline newscast, sports, special features, and so much more. You can also send us a WhatsApp or call us directly. Go in the Google Play Store, search Skn Newsline, and download the app today. The Skn Newsline mobile app. News on the go.
An open interactive event can be described as
tremendous, effective,
on par with any conference around the world.
From exhibitions to trade shows, corporate events to product launches, from press events to political functions. We are the secret sauce behind events that make you go, wow. We've staged multiple world-class events in the Caribbean and developed the skill to deliver quality in every detail, whether the event is live or fully virtual, or maybe even somewhere in between. At Open Interactive, we got your events covered. Get your free quotation today at www.madebyopen.com.
Those struggling to cope with the increase in the price of flour may soon get relief.
At this stage, we realize that we have to try to assist, especially with this very basic item. And the Ministry of Finance, the rest of the government, the cabinet, we are reviewing what the policy possibilities are, but understanding the complexities in determining what's the right solution.
But the public won't know for at least another 2 weeks what the cabinet decides. Trade and Industry Minister Paula Gopiskun says the government considered subsidizing the national flour mills, but decided against it because they would also have to assist Nutrimix. And she says simply giving more to those who receive social assistance does not solve the issue.
It's very easy to say, okay, let's go to those who receive social development assistance, but that's a narrow net. That's a narrow net because many, many more households are in fact feeling the pinch with this increase in flour, which is a really basic item.
Gopiskun is appealing to retailers to keep their prices reasonable, saying the Consumer Affairs Division has already seen price gouging.
I have heard in recent times some retailers have been having like 40 to 60% markups on some staple products. That can't be right. And already, Consumer Affairs is already noticing very large variances in the increase in price of flour. We are noticing it already.
She's vowing to name and shame retailers who price gouge. We also asked the ministers whether the public could expect an increase in the minimum wage in the upcoming budget. But despite the public outcry over the rising cost of living, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister Stuart Young gave no assurances.
A lot of discussions take place. A lot of discussions are taking place. And at this stage, there's nothing to announce coming out of with respect to the minimum wage.
Charlene Rampasad, CNC3 News.
Unofficial polling results give the winner by a very narrow margin to Dick Mitchell, candidate for the National Democratic Congress. Dick Mitchell is first position with 50.91%, followed by the current Prime Minister, Kate Mitchell of the New National Party with 48.67%. The Prime Minister is seeking re-election for the sixth term in office after his party won all 15 seats in the legislative body in the 2018 elections. In this process, a team of electoral observers from Caribbean is in the country to monitor the elections. The polls open at 6 a.m. local time and officially close at 5 p.m. local time. Over than 80,000 Grenadians who were registered to vote. The citizens who were in line during the closing of the polls were allowed to cast their votes. The electoral process has been carried out with completely normal.
All right, we're bringing you now some breaking news coming in from the U.S., where the Supreme Court has overturned a law that allowed states to ban abortions. That law was called Roe versus Wade. The court made the ruling in a 6-3 ruling by its conservative majority. It upholds the Republican-backed Mississippi law that bans abortions after 15 weeks. We're looking at some live pictures coming in, as you can see. I think we've got crowds representing both sides of the argument. Definitely we've got some people who are pro-abortion there as well, and some signs of people who are clearly against it. This was a very pivotal landmark ruling in 1973 when the U.S. Supreme Court said basically it recognized a woman's constitutional right to decide on an abortion and legalized it nationwide. Now, most abortions have been legal in the United States for nearly 50 years since that ruling. As I said, it was quite a pivotal landmark decision, brought many unexpected changes. Patty Culhane has more for us.
Trans lives are under attack. What do we do?
Abortion wasn't always controversial in the United States. It was legal when the country was founded, up until what they called the quickening, when the mother could feel the baby, around 4 months. But by the 1880s, abortion was outlawed across most of the country. It stayed that way until the 60s, as the women's movement came into force. Pressure mounted on the court. First, it struck down a law that banned selling birth control to married couples, then later for unmarried adults.
Family Planning Information Service, would you hold on, please?
Then Roe v. Wade in 1973 changed the lives of millions of women, allowing all abortions in the first trimester and some restrictions in the second, a decision reaffirmed several times since by the Supreme Court. Before the decision on Roe, wealthy women could travel out of the country for the procedure, but for lower-income women, getting an abortion often meant going to unsafe clinics. In 1965, 17% of all deaths due to pregnancy were the results of illegal abortions. And after Roe, there was an economic impact. Women could choose to stay in the workforce.
They could start, for example, an advanced education program. They could get accepted into such a program because a school would say, I find it credible that this woman will actually complete her education and not drop out. Because she'll be able to plan. It allowed women to invest in careers as opposed to just jobs, because they could follow paths that involved investment rather than being viewed by employers as people who were sort of here today, gone tomorrow.
Studies have shown that women who leave their job to care for their child, even for a short time, rarely recoup their earning potential. And many can't afford childcare in this country, which now costs an average of $14,000 per year. There are some economic studies that say there is also a link between legal abortions and a drop in crime. This reversal will now mean half of the women in the country are about to find out what life was like before Roe v. Wade, a half a century ago, especially for women with little means, have a child they don't want, or risk their lives to illegally get an abortion.
Let's go live now to Patty Culhane. She is in Washington, D.C. This is quite a dramatic political development, right? This is not just a legal issue in the courts.
No, this is going to have huge implications. Sorry about that. The decision just came out. It's hundreds of pages. I was just trying to see if this compared to the leaked version, which we never really get from the Supreme Court. But we knew that this was a possibility because the original decision leaked out about a month ago. So I was just scrolling through. It doesn't appear at first glance that anything has changed. It flatly overrules Roe v. Wade. What does that mean? It says, the court says now it's up to the states. So in practicality, right now, 13 states have outlawed abortion. They had trigger laws on the books that basically said the minute this decision comes down, abortion is illegal. In many of those cases, there's no exemptions, not for the health of the mother, not for fetal abnormality. 26 states in all are expected to go ahead, so more than a majority, are going to go ahead and put in laws in place that either ban abortion or severely restrict abortion. And this is mostly going to happen in the South, the Midwest, and parts of the West. So what you're going to see now is a two-tier system. Places like Washington, D.C., nearby Maryland, you will be able to get a safe, legal abortion. In states like Texas and in other southern states, you're not going to have that access at all. So what happens now? Well, there are groups that are promising to come up with funding so that people who live in those states, if they need an abortion, can travel outside of their states to get an abortion. But that's not going to be able to help every woman who needs an abortion. And this will have a disproportionate effect on women of color and lower income women because they overwhelmingly will not be able to afford to travel out of state. They may not be able to get those private funds. This is an absolutely huge decision. Now, keep in mind, 3 of the Supreme Court justices who made this decision possible were recently confirmed by the Senate. And at least in the case of Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, they told senators that they considered Roe v. Wade to be settled law, basically precedent. So how do they explain that change of opinion in this decision? Well, they simply say Roe v. Wade was much like Plessy versus Ferguson, which involved segregation. It was just simply a bad ruling, and so therefore it just needs to be overturned. So this is a Supreme Court that has said precedence matters. Basically what the courts before them have said should be taken into account. They are now saying that that is no longer the case because they say it's simply a flawed decision.
All right, let's take a moment to just listen in, if we can, Patty, to the protesters. I think that'll give us a feeling of what sentiment, how sentiment is running right now.
No other choice than to pay the abortion industry who will profit off of her despair. You will tell her you can choose both, and we will stand with you. Friends, this is not the end of the pro-life generation, not the post-Roe generation. This is the next phase. For such a time as this, we were called for this moment. Each and every one of us, we were called for this moment. And this is a heady responsibility to make abortion unthinkable and illegal throughout our nation, to ensure no woman stands alone in a post-Roe America, to be the post-Roe generation!
As we can clearly see there, feelings running very high over this issue, as it has for years, if not decades, in the US, where public opinion quite divided on the issue of abortion. For those just joining us, we've got quite a dramatic U-turn going on by the Supreme Court, which has overturned something called the Roe versus Wade law. That was a 1973 law by the Supreme Court that found it within a woman's constitutional rights to have an abortion. Let's bring in Patty once again. Patty, how much of this is a reflection of the changes that were going on in the Supreme Court itself, especially the new appointments since the Trump era?
This is 100% happening because the Donald Trump was able to put 3 justices on the court. Without question, it would not have happened without that. Worth remembering, Barack Obama was in office, and it was about a year before the next election between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Senate, in a very unusual step, wouldn't even give his Supreme Court nominee a hearing. He's now the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, and he said it's too soon to an election to appoint a justice. Well, then Justice Scalia died and Amy Coney Barrett just about a month before the next election, and the Republicans went ahead and put that nomination through. So there's a lot of sore feelings among Democrats and independents in this country about the way these Supreme Court picks were handled, not to mention the controversy about the possible sexual assault from Brett Kavanaugh. The important thing, I think, to point out is this is going to be a hugely unpopular decision. 2/3 of Americans in a recent poll said they wanted Roe v. Wade to stand. They support abortion access. So the big question now is, what do they do next? I have to say, just to paint the scene here, I've been here every single day that there's been a decision day because we just simply wait to see if it's a decision that we want to report on, such as Roe v. Wade. There's a lot more security here. DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, has put out a warning that they think extremists are going to try and use this decision to sow violence. The pro-abortion rights and and anti-abortion rights people separated, both with physical and with bicycle racks. That's not happening here. So we expect throughout the day we're going to see a lot more people come to the Supreme Court, and really protests all over the country are planned and expected. When the decision was leaked, there was an absolutely massive crowd of people chanting against the decision. So we expect that will continue in the coming days. So the big question is, what's next? Can this court be overruled? Well, yes, the court can be overruled if the Congress decides to pass a law protecting abortion. It can also be overruled if a very, very difficult procedure it takes place. It's very complicated, it's very costly, but they can have a constitutional amendment saying that abortion is in fact a woman's right to choose. So those are 2 possibilities, but I expect to see more in the near term as some of these states that haven't explicitly said abortion is illegal in their constitution, you're going to see lawsuits challenging those individual states. So this is going to get very messy. The bigger concern for Democrats is the way this ruling was founded. It said, well, it's not, Roe v. Wade basically said, under the right to privacy under the 14th Amendment, you have the right to an abortion. There's a lot of other court decisions that took that same reasoning, such as same-sex marriage and the right to interracial marriage. And so there's a lot of court decisions now that you could expect to see the most conservative Republicans try to push, because this is a Supreme Court that has shown, both with the gun decision yesterday and Roe v. Wade today, that they are willing to go against public opinion. And again, the vast majority of Americans in this country did not want this decision to happen. The Supreme Court made the decision anyway.
And this, Patty, no doubt guarantees that it will be even more of an issue in elections going forward.
Well, it could be. And I say that because Americans tend to vote with their pocketbooks before anything else. Right now, Americans are really mad at Joe Biden. They're really fed up with Congress. Gas prices are highest they have ever been. Going to the grocery store costs you more than it ever has. There's still shortages. Now, Joe Biden says that's because of the war in Ukraine. He says it's because of the pandemic and supply chain issues. Americans might understand that, but they don't necessarily care about that because their wages, because of inflation, are not going as far as they used to. So a family that was just squeaking by is now making really tough decisions about buying gas, buying food, just the essentials. So Americans are very angry about that. Now, a lot of Americans are going to be very angry about this decision. And Democrats are going to say, look, the only way to change that is if you keep Democrats in power and you add on to our majority. Now, this could potentially fire up the base so that they are able to get more and more people to vote if that issue breaks through. But But it's going to be interesting to see, because here you are, you're competing with the financial needs of your family and a procedure that you care about, but maybe you're not as passionate about. And that has been the thing in this country. Republicans who are very anti-abortion rights, this is, for many of them, their number one issue. They voted on it when it comes to state lawmakers, governors, presidents, senators, congressmen. For Democrats, because it's been a protected right for almost 50 years, it really isn't one of the top issues. They'll tell you climate change is way more important. But now that was when you could get an abortion anywhere in the country. That is no longer the case. So it will probably have some impact on the upcoming midterms and obviously on the next presidential race. Governorships are going to be more interesting to see because these are very red states, meaning Republican-leaning states that have adopted some of the most restrictive laws. And it's also not going to be settled law because Mississippi, this law says there are exemptions for fetal abnormality or medical issues. A lot of these states are not allowing that. They're just simply saying no abortions at all. So is the court going to have to come back and clarify exactly what exemptions are allowed or not? The bottom line is this is going to throw the whole issue of abortion into the very topic of conversation because as of today, there are women right now who had appointments in some of these states to get an abortion today that will simply not be able to do that. So as I said in my story, they now have a decision to make. Do they want to keep a child that they don't believe they can afford or they don't want? Do they want to try and find the money, which is expensive, considering most people don't have paid sick leave or paid family leave? Do they want to try and find the money to go to a state that allows it? Or, as we saw before Roe, there were backroom clinics. There were very dangerous abortions performed. Do they want to risk their own health in order to get rid of this child? So this, I know we say monumental decisions often, but really, this is the very definition of an earth-shaking, monumental change in this American culture.
Right, and you mentioned there the popularity issue with Joe Biden. When you speak with both Democrats and Republicans, do you get a sense of how they feel this is going to play out, shall we say, in the balance of power between the two?
Well, they do, but they also realize November's still a little bit further away. People see gas prices every day. They won't necessarily see the impacts of abortions every day. So Democrats are counting on this because the polls were looking very bad for them as far as possibly losing the House, maybe losing the Senate. So they're going to try and use this and keep people fired up about this because right now, people are very impassioned, but November's pretty far away.
All right. Thanks so much. Patty Culhane reporting from Washington, D.C. We're continuing to look at those live pictures, reaction coming in to that decision taken by the U.S. Supreme Court, which took that very dramatic step of overturning the landmark 1973 Roe versus Wade law.
It was a football demolition on Wednesday at the Warner Park in the SKNFA Premier League when Rams Village Superstars crushed TGE DFA Eagles 13-1. Kimari Rogers was the star of the show with 6 goals in the first, 10th, 16th, 27th, 29th, and 42nd minutes of the match. Javon Amory scored 2 goals in the 4th and 51st minute. Shaheem Quealy scored a goal in the 7th minute, Mazari Hodge in the 46th minute, Leroy Hanley in the 55th minute, Tyreek Quealy in the 56th minute, and an own goal from Sharik Paris in the 71st minute. The lone goal from DFA came from Shaveen Boston in the 24th minute. Newly appointed village coach Azim Jenkins said the results reflected progression of the team.
We've been working a lot on keeping the possession of the ball. In terms of looking opportunities to move forward and scoring opportunities. So I'm happy with the result tonight.
Right. How does this now help you to gauge going forward for the rest of the season going into the playoffs?
Well, it's step by step, game by game, it's training session by training session. We've been seeing the progress in the training. The result is one thing, but we're looking more as how we play the football, not just the scoreline, but how we play the football. And I'm happy with the progression from tonight.
This is Coach Jenkins' second match with Village Superstars, and he is still getting to know his team.
Well, it's a whole new group for me. We're learning every day. It's been testing, but it's a good challenge. So everybody has been, I guess, adjusting every training session. So we've been getting to know each other better and better. So as today shows the progression.
The Premier League is on break this weekend and will be back on Wednesday. Here are the standings after Wednesday's match.
Welcome to the Skn Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boone. Here is a look at the forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. For a more detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.